Wait for a minute.
Okay.
Live streaming is on. I've just had a confirmation.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome you all to this guest lecture. Usually, guest lecture forms part of the teaching curriculum of Sadar Hospital and Aster Hospital, the combined teaching sessions. To introduce the speaker, Dr. H.P. Shivram, my good friend, and as the heading state program director of bariatric and metabolic surgery, and also the education head director of academics at Aster CMI, Bangalore. He's also the immediate past president of the Karnataka state chapter of the Association of Surgeons of India, having previously been the president of the Bangalore Surgical Society. Very active academically and very, very good operating surgeon and an excellent teacher. And the topic he has chosen is also quite thought-provoking and stimulating to all of us, I would think. As the Vedas have very clearly elucidated, whatever you learn, you Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. These are the three tenets that they have elucidated in terms of listening. Manana is to then take it in, and Nididhyasana is to digest it and make sure that it stays with us. So this is with respect to the knowledge that we gain. There is a unfair criticism of the previous, the Sanatana Dharma and the Vedic learning, where it was considered to be mainly rote learning, that is, you memorize the whatever, the texts and everything. But I think it was not just memorizing. The students used to be, the teachers used to challenge and teach the students and question them, and only then they would ask them to memorize it, because the knowledge was handed down from generation to generation with this method. Very little writing used to happen, and that used to happen on the lipis and the brahmana, I don't even know the name now. So I think the memory was an extremely important aspect of the learning in those times, because it used to be passed on from one generation to another. I think Dr. Shivram will give us a new perspective of how you learn and how you memorize things and how it helps us. Over to you, Dr. Shivram. Thank you for this good lecture. I would presume it will be very enlightening to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravishankar. Am I audible?
Yes, very much.
Clear? Okay. Thank you very much for that introduction. And yeah, first slide got stuck. Right. The topic today is memory and learning. See, I am involved with the DNB teaching since I think last 15-20 years, from the Saint Philomena's days, and then continued. But as I progress over the years, I see that students have some obstacles or difficulty in memorizing and also learning methods. So it would put me into a lot of thinking. So I also did a small experiment asking the same question to our student in about 3 or 4 months intervals. First time they didn't know anything. Next day they came and told me, I just asked, what are the skin tumors? So first time it was totally blank. After 3-4 months, again, I asked same question, totally blank. And again, after 3-4 months, I asked. By the time they had learned something, I think about 50%, they answered. So it made me to think more and more, what are the obstacles and why it is failing? And so when I did some research, I was really amazed that why we were all not thought about this in the school days or college days. There is a lot of material. Probably they should come to the textbooks also. So my disclosure is that I'm not an expert in this field and cannot say anything very authentically, because there are a lot of views and a lot of materials in the journal articles, YouTube talks, in the Google, when I discuss with the neurologists. So all I have gathered together and put it here with only the humble effort to help our dear students and also fellow surgeons. Hope it will be useful. And as we go on, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. So our moderator, Dr. Ravi Shankar, will take up one by one, and let us try to learn something which is new to all of us. If you see the journal articles or the textbooks of neurology, everyone is born with 100 billion neurons at birth. So that doesn't change. So the 100 billion neurons are there. Everyone is genius and no one is a dullard. This is what the Pineal told, and this is very true, because every nature has given equal opportunity to every newborn. So unless there is something pathological, abnormal, everybody is a genius, and nobody is a born dullard. So why some are more intelligent than others? This is a very, very legitimate question. And why some people evolve into genius, very intelligent, and others stay on as mediocre? This has many reasons. The most important one is the environment where we grow and start learning and growing. Home atmosphere environment is very, very important, because in the childhood, maximum time is spent at home and not in school. Of course, schools and colleges, environment, the teachers, they are also very, very important. And the friends and social circle, they will have a great influence on our intelligence, memory, and learning. Genetics, of course, it has influence, and experiences in life. As we grow older, and also we gather more and more experiences, and also learn from others' mistake, we become more intelligent and avoid doing same mistakes and learn more and more. So this is a very famous saying from the Lenin: show me who your friends are, and I will tell you what you are. This is very true even today, and it's very important that students have good friends circle who go along with you in learning and discussing, and also whenever required, giving help. Albert Einstein said, everybody is a genius. He may be genius in some particular field in which he is intelligent, he is interested to go further in the memory and learning. One has to have intense interest, and then only they can go forward. See, what he said is very, very true. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Similarly, many of the students are thrown into particular field in the healthcare system, maybe medical, nursing, or anything. They may be genius in some other field, but some parents may be pushing them to this field and they feel miserable. Probably they would have done much better in some other field. All of you are familiar with Mahabharata. Dronacharya was the guru for both Kauravas and Pandavas. But if you see the end results, entirely different, and they both went in different directions. So that is because of so many factors we discussed, and it's very important. Keep good company. Not only good guru is important, but also other factors. So coming to the next question, what is memory then? So what is memory? Memory is the power and process of reproducing and recalling what was being learned and retained. So this is a psychological process of acquiring, storing, retaining, and later retrieving the information whenever required. So it has a lot of processes, but I want you to remember three major processes which are important in this. This number 3 will come many times in my talk. And here it is encoding, storage, and retrieval. So these 3 major processes are very, very important for having good memory. How to do that? So that's what we are going to learn today. One of the important neuroanatomical aspect is the neurons. It is set and documented that there are about 200 trillion synapses in our brain. So a huge number, and the synapses and dendrites, they are very, very important part of our memory system. There is electrical activity, and also there are many neurotransmitters in the synapses. The most important one are the glutamates, acetylcholine, serotonin, the dopamine, and the GABA, and norepinephrine. Many of these are very, very closely associated with different types of memories, and these are the ones which strengthen our memories, and they are very, very important. All of you are familiar with the human brain anatomy, which again has 3 parts: cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. And human adult brain weighs about 3 pounds. If you see the representative area, this anatomy is important to us because the memory just doesn't involve one aspect. There are many, many representative areas. When we associate everything, then it becomes a good memory, whether it is speech, auditory, or the visual and sensory and the motor. All these things are important because they are represented in different parts of the brain. If you see here in the frontal lobe, you have areas which are important for thinking, speaking, and the movements. Temporal lobe, hearing, learning, feelings, and in the parietal lobe, language, touch, sensation, and in the occipital lobe, vision and color perception. So what we call it as the 5 senses. If you involve all the 5 senses, panchendriyas, in your learning process, the memory will be stronger. Just to understand how the memory is stored and how the things are learned, once there is a sensory input, that will go to the prefrontal cortex. From there, if you have given sufficient interest and also you are very attentive, then the brain selects what is important and it then goes to the hippocampus, where during the sleep, it's very important that good sleep, it actually processes what all has been learned on that day. So this is the CPU of the brain. And then it sends it to neocortex for as a general knowledge or to be remembered whenever required. And in the basal ganglia, we have the coordinated motor activity and memory. And if you have a very bad experience or a teacher has insulted you during a class or he has made you very happy and appreciated, that is an emotional memory which will be stored in the amygdala. So as we understand, memory has different aspects of it, and it is very important to experience all aspects of it, then it becomes a good memory. So any of you can tell me what is the memory storage of capacity of our brain? If you can type in the chat box, it's good. Otherwise, it is really amazing that it is really a super computer. There is 2.5 million GB storage space in our brain. But do we use this entire storage space? No, that is not possible, humanly not possible. We use only 4 to 6% of our brain's capacity, maybe maximum 10%. It is said that Einstein, with his constant effort, used about 10 to 11% of his brain's capacity. So this comes to about 150 terabytes, and that's all we are using in our brains storage capacity. If you really work hard and try to remember and learn new and newer things. Maybe Ravi Shankar, maybe stop here and take if there are any questions.
Yes, sir. Anybody wants to come in with their views or questions? Even if it is a comment, it's okay. Comment, question.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, emotional memory is quite stronger than the normal memory, sir.
Absolutely. Because the emotional memory, when it is associated, it can be still be stored in the brain for a very long time. And if you keep on thinking about it and also checking it on and off, it becomes a very strong memory in the long run.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Joining Dr. Nuli, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank
let
you,
us
sir.
move on.
Shivram, sir, could you, in very simple terms, tell our students in terms of how you maximize the potential to, remember and, retain whatever they have
Yes.
learned? Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. I will come to that step by step. Basically, I did little bit about anatomy and physiology till now. So next, we will go to the memory actually. Again, there are 3 R's of memory. So which are the 3 R's? That is, the first and most important is registration. If you registered actually very well in your brain what you heard, what you saw, or what you listened, then only it can be retained. If you read the memory, the brain retains it properly, then only we can recall. So most important is, if you see the first process, that is the registration. So many students say that I forgot. So why you forgot? Because you didn't get it at all. You were not in the moment when you were supposed to be registering the things in your brain. So it's not the brain's fault. It's our fault that we didn't give sufficient attention and we did not register the things in the brain. If you don't register it, the brain cannot retain it. Why an emotional memory is much more? Because that gets registered very fast and it's very strong registration occurs, then the retention and then the recall. So the crux of the issue is, if you want to remember very properly, you be on the moment. And the process of memory is that intention, a strong desire to learn and remember. This is very important. And the next thing is the attention, as I said, observing information, concentrating on the details, mindfulness, and be on that moment. That is what is very important. That's attention. When you have registered properly, if you organize and associate that data with something, then it becomes an association memory that will again remains longer. If you want to retain the memory for a long time, there is no other thing. It is practice. Improves the dendrite strength and the synapses connection. So then it retains very long time. So if you want to recall whenever it is required, we have to remember by the above process. You have to teach somebody or just stand in front of the mirror and talk and give a talk and share information. Knowledge sharing and teaching is a wonderful way of recalling and remembering things. So whenever possible, just talk, give a talk, give a lecture, talk to your friend about the same topic. So process of memory involves attention. If you are given sufficient attention and think that this is very important, then only the brain selects it. Otherwise, when the encoding occurs in the night, it discards it. So it's selection process, encoding and storage, then very important if you are given sufficient importance and attention for the matter. So then only retrieval is possible in the long run. So this I want to give a little more attention, that is mindfulness, attention or registration or the selection, the state in which you are totally involved in the moment. In that moment, you have to be totally involved and be a part of the process. That is total immersion in that what is happening at that moment. You are not in the past or not in the future, but you are at that moment. That is mindfulness. So when you do this, you will have a short-term or active memory, but this has to be converted into a long-term or a passive memory. Short-term memory can be very short. Sometimes we meet people and we say good morning and ask their name. He will tell his name. But after 20 seconds, 30 seconds, you may not be able to remember his name because you have made it very casual, not made an effort to register it. So if you learn something new and practice only once or twice, the dendrite connection is very fragile and can disappear within hours, sometimes maybe within minutes also. So it's very important to strengthen your dendrite connection and the neurotransmitters in the synapses. If you learn something new, within 20 minutes, you remember only 60%. Within 24 hours, about 70% is lost. You remember only 30%. So what we should do, if you practice within 24 hours and then practice again within a week, then you will remember about 80%. So when I learned all these things, I was just wondering why we were not told all these things when we were children or when we were doing studies. So this is very, very important, how you convert a short-term memory to a long-term memory. It's only by practicing, recalling again and again at different intervals. Otherwise, most of it will be lost. Again, I say this picture is only to inform you how we should strengthen our memory by strengthening the neural connections. The long-term memory is the storage of information over an extended period. The extended period may be months, years, and years after years. So this occurs by encoding, as I said, changing information to usable form, and it occurs at synapses. Strengthening the synapses dendrites helps information to be stored as long-term memory. So active memory, finally, it should become a passive or long-term memory. So visual things are remembered better. So that's why I'm putting this. You make a sensory input, it becomes a short-term or a sensory memory. If you are given sufficient attention to that, it gets registered and it becomes a working memory for a few days or so. But if you rehearse it, if you practice it, if you try to maintain that memory, then encoding occurs and it gets long-term memory. Even the long-term memory requires to be recycled, or retrieval has to be occurred, then it becomes short-term memory. Again, you practice encoding long-term memory. So this is the chain of events which is very important for learning process, that we keep recalling it, retrieving it at intervals so that it becomes a permanent memory. Memory retrieval also has different parts. So sometimes we wonder that we remember everything, but we may not be true. Recalling is a part of the memory retrieval, like you just fill in the blank. It's a recall. You have to recall it. Recollection is, that is, you answer in the essay form in the examination, writing an answer. And in the MCQs, where there are multiple choice questions, it is the recognition, which is another form of retrieval. But all these to be active, and you should be able to retrieve whenever required, you should be relearning on and on. The learning process is a continuous one and the lifelong one, and many of the things we have to relearn and practice it, and then only it becomes the permanent memory. So after learning something about memory, so now let us see what is forgetting. I said why we forget. Inability to recall a learned topic or inability to recognize a seen object. So that is, we call it as forgetting. Forgetting is natural. It's a natural process of the brain, but sometimes it can be intentional also. If you have a bad incident or something, you don't want to remember it, we may willfully suppress it by giving more importance to other aspects, so that the brain selects other things and tries to forget what is a bad memory. So if you want to, if something forgets, that means the content was not good. If you don't remember anything I told this talk, that means the content of this talk is useless, meaningless, or it may not be interesting to you at all. Time lapse, not recalled or practiced for a long time. Again, we forget. Learning methods may be wrong. Some of the learning methods, if you have adopted, they're not good at all. Or if you learn something in an anxiety, that is again enhances forgetting. But then remember that there are some mental illnesses or addictions sometimes. So Alzheimer's, dementia, these are all pathological states where we do not remember at all. So forgetting is a natural process, something it can be age-related memory loss also. Age-related memory loss is common. There is nothing to get afraid of it or worry about it, because the hippocampus function deteriorates with age to some extent. Hormones and proteins, again, which are important in the brain, the decline can occur with age. And all of us know that as the age advances, the blood flow to the brain also decreases. It is said by about the age 70, adult brain has lost about 10% of the cerebral cortex. So it is natural, and age-related memory loss is very well known. There are a lot of exercises or the methods where you can decrease age-related memory loss or improve the memory also. There is an excellent book, The Benefits of Not Remembering or Forgetting. It's important that we cannot remember everything what we do in the day and whatever we learned. So forgetting is the method of decluttering the brain. So brain's method of keeping the brain healthy and keeping the memory, and which allows us to think better, make better decisions, and more creative, is forgetting some of the things which are not very important. So it allows us to see the forest through the trees. So that is what is wisdom. So this was something about the memory and types of memory and also how to strengthen it. So any questions at this stage?
Shivram, are you addressing methods by which age-related memory loss can be addressed and minimized? Very useful for guys like me.
Correct. But I'm not addressing that particularly because a lot of students are here. So when the time comes, anyway, definitely they will learn. And for you and me and all, it is definitely, we can look into that in the different, I may not address this much in this talks.
Any questions from the students? Sir, I wanted to know, there is something called the neuro-linguistic programming, which
Right.
tries to address some of these things. And they concentrate on two things. One is conscious state or conscious memory and the subconscious memory.
Right.
So, is there any light that you can throw on this?
Yes. I will explain it. I will come to that.
Okay.
I'll come to that subconscious memory.
Yes, sir.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. So let us go to memorizing methods or the learning methods. So this is very, very interesting because you try to remember something and your learning methods are not correct, then it may not be retained for a long time. So that's why, as Dr. Ravi Shankar said, we all can teach you, we can make you read everything, students, but ultimately at the exam, it is you who are going to write and who are going to answer the question. So for this, it's very important to, whenever you learn something, contemplate about it, meditate about it, reflect about it, and that is called swadhyaya or self-learning. You gain all the knowledge, but ultimately it has to be sustained and continuous learning only by swadhyaya. So this is given very important. See, if you see after the post-graduation occurs, there are a lot of teachers who are updated. Like if you take Lakshman or Dr. Ravi Shankar and so many others, Ramakrishna, so I can name many of them, they are still learning and they are doing every day some reading that is called swadhyaya. So every day reading habit or continuous learning is very, very important if you want to remember and progress. Otherwise, the brain deteriorates and what we have learned during our MS days, it remains there only. Progress is not possible. So this, I feel, is very, very important for every person to involve himself in the learning process and continue it lifelong. There are many methods. So some of the methods I will just explain here. The peg word memory system, many of you know that, where we associate between two concrete objects. If you have gone to UK or one or some of our older houses also, these pegs are there as soon as you enter the house, where you can hang your coat or umbrella or some clothes like this. So this is what happens when you want to associate or put your memory along with something. So whether it can be mnemonic, rhyming, alphabets, or visualization. Nobody can remember all the colors of rainbow unless how it is arranged: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and finally violet. That's only possible if you have made some association like Vibgyor, or if you have the numbers, you have some rhyming. 1 is a gun, 2 is a shoe, like this. So visualization is important, rhyming, mnemonics, and in the medical anatomy and all, we have learned a lot of mnemonics. Similarly, we can create very, very funny mnemonics to remember, even when you are doing your post-graduation also. The corpal bones are very easily remembered with this little funny words. You can say, she looks too pretty, try to catch her. So all the corpal bones of the 2 rows are easily remembered and you will never forget. Coming to the learning, other techniques, students, you should plan from the day 1, collect all your study material. It's very important that even after 6 months, we see that you have not collected the important books or study material, what is required, and not dividing your time accordingly, and there is no timetable. Timetable is very important from the day 1 of your study, and also we have the logbook which has to be entered every day, so that when you glance it after a month or 2 months, you know what has happened, what has been lacunae, what has been to be improved, everything. I give a lot of importance for this chapter-wise question bank. This is the one which makes you think, and when you study, you will concentrate more, because you know that last few years, what questions have come in that chapter. So if you take the liver chapter, you gather all questions which have come in the last 3-4 years in your whatever you're doing, DNB or MS, and then your attention will be much more. You just keep those questions and keep asking those questions when you're studying, you will be more attentive. Sleep is very important and also nutritious food for us to remember, and exercise or a game. Everybody says, I don't have time, but everybody has only 24 hours. Nobody has 24 hours and 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So in that 24 hours, we have to put everything in order as per the timetable. Then definitely, if you're more disciplined, you can make time for study, for the review, for a good sleep, for the exercise and discussion with your friends. Everything can be done if you have a good timetable and also the study material and the discipline. Use images. The brain remembers much better when there is visual impression. So you can see that images are faster processed than the words in the brain. Associative learning, this already I told, critical thinking. So this is why we ask, stop in between and make you to think and ask questions, whether reasoning. So if you make critical thinking of each subject, each topic, then, and lateral thinking, ask questions, why it is this, why not like this, then you remember better. Spaced repetition. So this is very well known. If you see that most of the classes are for about 45 minutes, then there will be a break. Anybody has thought about it, why it is so? It is because the brain neurons, where there are synapses, the neurotransmitters, when they get exhausted. So any remembering or studying after 45 minutes, it becomes difficult and also concentration goes on. So for the neurotransmitter to replete again, you need about 5 minutes. So that's why if you are studying, study for about 45 minutes, take a break, so have a cup of tea or speak to your mother, sister, or somebody, or a friend, and again start studying. So by that time, your brain is again fresh and ready to take more materials. Make short notes. So draw tables, diagrams. If they are more colorful, you'll remember much better. So notes means you can't tell your sister or mother or somebody to write for you. It should be in your own handwriting. Then only you will remember better. Why? I will tell you again. Teach someone about what you have learned. This is the best method of remembering it for a long time. If I am teaching this class today, it is me who is most benefited because I have gathered so much information, put so much thought about it, and also I have typed all these things myself. Place of study, again, is very important. You have to see where you get maximum attention. If you see many people go to the library and study, some people study at home, some people go to park and study, some people may be very comfortable studying under a tree. It all individual, where you get maximum attention and maximum immersion. That's where you have to study. This is again formula SQ3R. Most important is what you are studying. Just don't jump into the chapter. Survey the chapter, survey the book, pre-reading, question bank of that chapter. I already told. And then after you read, recite, remember again, and then review. So that's the way to read, and not just starting from the first word to the end of the chapter. You have to take break, recite, review, and then read. So these 3 R's are important. So survey the chapter, question banks of the chapter should be there and keep questioning, and then repeat. Studying or reading is not a single step. It's a multi-step process. So I will tell you why. If you have a book, first thing you have to read is the preview, the book itself. Who has written this book? What is the background of that person? When it was published? Whether this book is the recent one or I am just reading a very old knowledge? And what other people have said about this book? These are the things if you do for your book, whether it is the DOS or Manipal manual or any other textbook, then you will have more interest in that. And there are a lot of anecdotes which you can connect with that book. So pre-reading is part of the reading. Don't think you're wasting time at all. It's very, very important. Preview the book and also the chapter. Prepare a set of questions. If you are thinking about a chapter about a hernia, you set your own question paper. What is hernia? What is etiology? What is the clinical symptoms? How patients manifest? What to operate? Keep asking questions, you will learn better. I see a lot of people just reading from the Google or from the internet, but it is very important that main books have to be purchased. It should be with you when you have the touch of that book, when you see the diagram in that book, when you see some of the underlines you have made in that book, your memory is much, much better. So when you are reading, you should be totally focusing on that. If your attention is not there, get up, walk around again. Don't read at that time, maybe something later. When you are reading, start predicting the answers to your questions. Start predicting in this para, what will be there in that. Find answers to your questions, what you have already gathered, the question papers. Visualize, that's what I said, make diagrams, tables, notes, highlight. One of our friend was there, he was highlighting the entire book, underlining. That's not the way. Important points to be highlighted in a chapter, so not more than 20%, so that when you have to go to exam or when you have to review, you can just see those and you can, rest of the things you can remember. After the preview, pre-reading and the actual reading, it's very important step is the post-reading. That is also a part of the multi-step process of reading. Post-reading is very important for the long-term memory to strengthen your dendrites and synapses. You have to recount it, you have to recall it, tell somebody else, one of your friend, or you can recall loudly, and also group study is also a good method in this. So reviewing periodically is very, very important. For that, you should cultivate a habit of reading daily. This is the most lacking thing nowadays, that daily reading habit is going. So whenever there is a test or whenever there is an exam, we go to study. That's not the good method of remembering long term. So if you read daily, at least half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever the time permits, then your dendrites and synapses will be strengthened and encoding occurs better. You will have the long-term memory. So this is, again, I'm coming, how can I improve my long-term memory? This is the question everybody has, and the answer is not very simple because it involves a lot of hard work. 24 hours after learning something, we have to review so that it gets reinforces. If you have learned 1 hour class, if your 10 minutes review after 24 hours definitely helps in improving the long-term memory. Periodic reinforcement moves material from the short-term to the long-term memory. This is a very important process that we move our important knowledge from the short term to the long term memory. For that, we have to do periodic reinforcement. So other things are also very important. As I said, exercise, sleep, and the nutritious food. Don't neglect your health. Better you check once a year or so, especially the B12, vitamin D, hemoglobin, and the cognitive training strengthen your memory skills. So cognitive training anyway, definitely when you are doing your post-graduation, it happens. So this is just to give a vision to you, pictures of how to improve memory, exercise, healthy nutrition, sleep. Don't neglect all those things. This is very important part of memory because, as I said, in the brain, there are different representative areas in the brain, whether it is vision, hearing, smell, taste. I've also added teach for your tongue, and touch. When you make all these efforts, if you are seeing a patient, you will be seeing, hearing the patient's story, and if there is something to smell, taste, or teach, touch, every organ, that panchendriyas, the five senses, if they are involved in your learning process, your memory will be much stronger and it will be long term. When I was doing post-graduation, we had Professor Krishnan. When we said IND and pus is removed, first thing he used to ask us, what was the color? And second thing he used to ask, what is the smell? And he used to say, this is the antibiotic you have to give. So that is the way those people used to learn, but that art is gradually going. If you don't see the color of the pus, we hesitate to smell it. There are a lot of things which color is associated with the bacteria or the anchovies of pus, and you have smelled the very bad smell of sebaceous cyst or a hidradenitis suppurativa. If you smell it, or if you have seen the color, like the green color of this Pseudomonas, you will never forget these things. So involve all your sensory organs in your learning process. So this is how we remember. We remember 10% of what we read. Remember 20% of what we hear and 30% of what we see or vision. And 50% of what we see and hear, we remember. 70% of what we teach, what we recite, what we talk to others and discuss, then we remember. And 90% of what we say and do. If you see a lot of surgeons, while they are operating, they keep asking questions to you, or they'll be simply narrating the steps or telling the anatomy. So that is because they also want to remember, and they are doing it and also saying it, and newer things will come. That's how the memory process happens, and that's how we remember. I'm sure henceforth you will be more attentive and involve all your sensory organs in your learning process. Dr. Ravi Shankar mentioned this, that rote learning. This is not for everything. This is the process of memorizing information, or what we say as by heart, by repetition. Some of the things we have to do is like the multiplication table, alphabets and numbers, A, B, C, D, all the things we learned by rote learning. Then some of the religious texts in all the religions, if you want to remember, that has to be rote learning. And also definitions. You can't change the definition of certain things, whether it is acute pancreatitis or the inflammation or the hernia. What is hernia? Definition is fixed, which has to be by hearted and learned. Advantages of this method is the quick recall. You can recall at any time because you have practiced, rehearsed it many times, and this is the long-term memory and it is reproducible. There is nothing wrong in this type of learning of some of the things, but not everything. There is flashcard technique. When you are preparing the study for the exams or something, you can make flashcards. At one side, there is just a prompt, but on the other side, there are all the details written about it. It may be the triangles of neck or the carpal bones or the steps of a surgery. It can be small note cards. Flashcard technique is another way of the learning method, important things. There is another way, that is the intensive and critical learning. So this is, I have found it very useful during my post-graduation days. That means you dedicate 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, whichever is suitable to you for a topic. I could say example is thyroid. You also make a partnership with one of your friends in this learning process. So you study everything about this topic in those 10 days or 15 days and don't study anything else. You study the anatomy, physiology, diseases, journals, question bank, recent advances, everything about this topic and discuss with your friend. Think only about this topic, see all the patients with thyroid problem. If necessary, go to other hospitals where they are admitted, see them, examine them, talk to them, and again come and read, discuss with friends only about this. Ask clinical questions, critical questions, and lateral thinking. Make short notes only about this topic. I am sure you will become an expert in this field if you do this sincerely for about 15 days or so. Not morning to evening, for about 2 hours or 3 hours per day. If you put this effort, that is the intensive and critical learning of a topic. There is an ancient Indian technique to memorize difficult material. This is very interesting. First step is write the target material in your own handwriting, in a short paper or so. So that is your material which you want to remember for long and learn. Second step is read this material 10 times with full focus immediately just before going to sleep. You can wash your face or get ready, and before going to sleep, read this material and keep this material nearby, maybe under the pillow while sleeping. And this is what Dr. Ravi Shankar was telling. Subconscious mind, you're training your subconscious mind. The third step is, after waking up, first thing in the morning is wash your face with cold water and read the target material with full concentration 10 times. Done. I'm sure you will remember, the subconscious mind will remember for this. This is another ancient Indian technique to memorize any difficult material, not everything. So learning pyramid, I've already explained. So why, when we just read a hernia or something, we don't remember much, but when you do the hernia, all your sensory organs, the movements, hands, touch, everything is involved, kinesthetic. So you will remember much better when you do all these different steps. All said and done, each person is different and each person has his own way of learning things, which I think you have to experiment and understand what suits you the best. focus on the method which you think is very suitable for you, the learning technique that yields the best results for you. So you are the best judge at the end. If you see this picture of a ancient student, for the concentration, he doesn't want to go to sleep. He's studying. He has tied his hair to a nail here, and he's don't want to lean back or relax. He has removed, or he has taken a chair which has no backrest and full concentration. So that is how the immersion, the concentration, the registration of the subject occurs if you are totally involved.
Sir,
So-
there are few questions in the chat box. Dr. Ram
Okay.
asked for, are there any supplements to improve the memory? Are there any, for example, playing chess or some other methods of making your memory strong? And caffeine, what is the role of caffeine in terms of your memory? So that is Dr. Ramkrishna's question. And second question he is asking is, are there some
Little
people,
louder, Dr. Ravishankar.
are there any people who have better long-term memory than the others?
Right. So regarding Dr. Ramakrishna's question, if you are taking enough of good nutrition, protein is very important. There should not be any deficiencies in the, all of you know how important it is, vitamin B12, vitamin D, and other vitamins. And there is no tablets or any particular medicine to improve the memory. There is a lot of research which has been done, and some of the neurologists give certain medications, but they are more of placebos and not of very useful to improve the memory. To improve the memory is that you do good exercise, good sleep, good nutritious food. They are very important. All the books, journals say that good sleep is important, good nutrition, and daily exercise at least 1 hour per day. They all improve our memory. That is.
Sangamesh asked, is night reading better than the day reading?
That is entirely left to you. But what I can say is the sleep rhythm should not be disturbed. So if you see the rhythmic daily rhythms, the sleep is very important part, and that is possible during the dark. So that has, again, you know that the hormones which secrete and gives good sleep is very important for the long-term memory and also for the brain to process what is learned during daytime and push them into encoding and to the retention. So if you study the entire night and sleep during day, it may not be the good idea. At least 6 to 8 hours of good sleep during the darkness is important.
And Dr. Nagaraj Rao asked, what is the role of lymphatics in memory or effect of laughing on memory?
Very good question. Lymphatics, I have not. Lymphatics, no, Ravishankar?
Lymphatics, I didn't know what it is. Dr.
Yeah.
Nagaraj,
It's called.
I think
it's
good mood,
lymphatics.
laugh. Pardon?
It's called lymphatics. It
Okay.
is a process of, to put it very in common terms, the brain cleaning itself
Right.
and getting rid of the rubbish. Yeah.
Right. No, I'm not aware of it about it.
Sir, can Dr. Shivram answer the question, sir? Effect of lymphatics on memory and effect of laughing on memory.
Laughing is what he's telling is to be in a good mood, and laughter is the best medicine, we say, very important. But I'm not very sure whether it improves the memory, but overall, it's a good medicine. It's a good tonic. About lymphatics, I will also read through that. If somebody has more information on that, please come forward.
I've just heard about it. Perhaps Nagaraj Rao knows more about it, but I've just heard about what lymphatics is. It's a process of cleaning the brain, and I only know that it occurs best during sleep. So that reinforces the point you have been making, that you must have a good and uninterrupted sleep.
Correct.
So, Dr. Shanai, good evening, sir. Your comments on the talk, and are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I joined a little late. Firstly, I should appreciate such a beautiful talk by Dr. Shivram. Okay, firstly, because he has, I think, every point he has highlighted, starting from how will you join, how will you select a book, and how to read, and everything. I have just a few things to make up that. First and foremost is I believe that every postgraduate, wherever he is studying, doesn't matter, irrespective of the college and irrespective of the situation. The first thing he has joined and taken up this, I believe it's a surgery postgraduate's target. So it should have that first attitude to, that I have taken up this surgery, so I should work and I should learn and I should study. Because this 3 years of this program of studies and learning, if you ask me, because I am the one person I have never studied later when I say for the super specialization, everything, you will never be able to really retain to that level of what you really study in this 3 years of period, number one. So the first thing is that attitude. Apart from the basic books, whatever he mentioned, after that, let them go for, that monograms like thing, which we have read. Everybody says now that in their mobiles and iPads and everything, every book is available, actually speaking. Every book they have. But as he said that, reading of the Google has gives a little bit of superficial knowledge. That is what is happening now. Now, next important thing is that apart from the various methods which have been learned, which have been mentioned, learning all these shortcuts, everything, mnemonics, pearls of wisdom, tables, algorithms, visuals. One of the important area which, as far the postgraduates are concerned, is the word work. What I tell the postgraduates, day one of your joining, whatever you have a problem, just he mentioned those flashcards, like that. That's how you start learning and memorizing and memorizing and memorizing. So memorization, the best way is to work and repeat and repeat. The repetition mode, of course, he has mentioned several ways. Reading more, night reading, morning reading, telling to others, and all that things. So these are few of the things which I think postgraduates should learn, aim. But rest of the things like meditation, be complex, then all this physical exercise, nutrition. I am not looking at that direction. What I'm trying to tell is at this stage for the postgraduate, these are the fundamental. Thank you, Dr. Shivram and Ravi Shankar, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Very nice, very well said.
So actually, when I first meet our student, the first thing I tell them is, nobody has held a gun to your head and told you to become a surgeon. You have become a surgeon on your own choice and volition. So make the most of it. Give your heart and soul to it. Put all the passion you have and learn. So that is, I think, what Dr. Chennai said also. Dr. Lakshman, sir, your comment, sir.
Hearty congratulations, I think, on very succinct, scientifically very valid, and a very useful talk on an important subject. A lot of things that Shivram has said are actually practically applied in teaching and learning methods in many institutions. I would just like to highlight a few of those to our students so that they appreciate many things that they may be experiencing every day, but they may not realize the scientific basis behind it. The first of them is attention span. You need to be very attentive to have registration. Attention span for humans is pegged at 20 minutes. So even though we may talk about 45-minute, 1 hour lecture, you will see that most people, as Shivram did today, break the lecture into 15-minute breaks, 15-minute segments. So it's never a continuous 1.5 hour talk. You give a talk for 10, 15 minutes, break with something, help recall by asking or repeating the things so that you register the points that we would like to make. Another important thing, in addition to what has been stated, is the importance of non-sequential learning. It's very important to learn one subject from top to bottom, as was mentioned, which is true. It's also true that your retention and recall is better if you jump from one subject to another and then come back to the previous subject. And for example, I'm saying you can read 15-20 minutes about a breast lump, switch to a thyroid nodule, go to Crohn's disease of the bowel and come back to a breast lump. That non-sequential learning is supposed to help you retain things better. And a point that was very clearly made, and which unfortunately the mistake that many of our students do is this copy-paste business, particularly after the computers have come into teaching. They copy something, paste it onto their slides, and then read it, and then everything is lost because the material, I can assure you, completely bypasses the learner's brain. So what you have to do is read, learn by yourself, use your words, use your brain and your knowledge to make your slides. And that is extremely, extremely important. And my final point is that while rote learning is good for certain things, as you said, like definitions, for example, or tables or something like that, at a postgraduate level, a lot more stress must be given to critical thinking, reasoning. And so once you reason why something is the way it is, then you will also have better memory, better recall, and better application in your clinical practice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wants to come in and give us a comment? I think,
Ravi Shankar sir.
yes, sir. Really, sir.
Sir, what I am observing nowadays is when I attend all these programs, students are not asking questions to the experts. Even there is a something communication gap, like means how we were behind the teachers in our postgraduate days because there was no internet, nothing in those days. But now, because of that Google or whatever it is, the students are not communicating with the teachers, even in teaching programs or even during OT. They should come out. A teacher is the best person to give you all the knowledge, whatever this. So they should not hesitate. Rather, a teacher is very happy when his student asks questions or when they come close to him. So this step of operation I didn't understand. Something like that. Why students are not coming and approaching the teachers nowadays? There is a gap is widening. That's what I am feeling. So we were extremely close to our teachers. Nowadays, there is a hesitancy and they are not participating in any clinical discussions during rounds, all those things. That might be how to solve that. That is the thing. And moreover, that also helps in memory because I went and asked my teacher about this. So that will be always permanent in my brain, his answer. So that is how somehow it is missing, sir. That is my concern rather.
So I'll just quickly go through our teaching schedule to show you what Dr. Shivram has said. The subject seminar will go in depth into one particular topic and the collateral reading that goes with it. If you go to the ward rounds, that is non-sequential learning because you skip from one problem to another. Then you go to journal club, it is critical appraisal of a particular topic. It's a different way of learning. And then you have morbidity, mortality, where you learn about your mistakes, you analyze what you've done right, what you've done wrong. So if you look at our, as Dr. Lakshman has said, most of the teaching institutions will have all these things, which actually give you different forms of learning, which will all, in a mass will try to help your memory, retention, and your ability to analyze. I think I will leave the final word to Dr. Shivram. Before that, I will say that, as Dr. Lakshman has said, very succinct, very up-to-date, very scientifically reasoned, and extremely practical points for students to understand and memorize things. Thank Dr. Shivram sir, excellent lecture. I learned a lot from it. Thank you very much, sir. Final word to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar. Actually, I learned a lot. And there are few questions. We'll try to answer that. Dr. Sangamesh has put very, very nicely.
Abhishek wants to say
IT.
something.
No, immediate revision, 1 day revision, 1 week revision, 1 month revision. Yes, revision puts the short-term memory into a long-term memory. So some people have innate long-term memory better than, yes, that is genetic and definitely there. Night reading or morning reading, there is a popular belief that eating an overnight soaked almond first thing in the morning, it improves memory. Is it true? It improves your nutrition, it improves your protein, so that may improve the memory, but almond itself is not associated with improving the memory. But it's good thing to eat almonds.
Abhishek wants to have a word. I just put it on that.
Abhishek,
Acharya.
please.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes,
sir.
you are.
Yes, Abhishek.
Nice to hear.
Sir, good evening, sir. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to all my teachers. There is a saying that you get to know the value of a certain thing when you are away from such a this thing. When I was doing my DNV General Surgery in Sagar, the amount of teaching programs, even though I was not particular in general surgery itself, it was just a route for me to get into neuro. But the amount of training I got in Sagar, the way all the teaching programs were designed, it is particularly astonishing, and I wouldn't get that even now in many of the great government colleges. That is one. The way it is designed, plus the teachers. The teachers sit with you and will every class they will have a discussion, group chats. All of this helped me a lot, and that is even though I was not particularly very good in general surgery, my training in, especially say in journals, everything was great just because of the teaching program back in Sagar. That is opening thing that I wanted to say. And the way the teaching program is this thing, what, for example, group discussions. We take a particular topic, everyone reads up a little bit about it, and there is a group discussion happening. That gives a better this thing. So mainly, what I would want to tell you is passion for the subject and a particular teaching environment is the most important for learning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Undoubtedly, Sagar hospital teaching is one of the best in the country, and the students coming out are very, very lucky. That's because of the dedicated teachers, and we all congratulate them and appreciate their efforts in furthering the knowledge of the students. Definitely, it's a great effort.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, final word, Dr. Lakshman, sir.
No, really, I think we've had a very, very useful session. I think we should have more of it. I take this opportunity to request Shivram to give us more such lectures in the weeks and months to come. It will add to the vibrancy of our teaching program. And I take the same opportunity to ask very enthusiastic and motivated people like Dr. Nuli, Dr. Ramakrishna, and others also to come up and have such kind of discussion, which I'm sure will collectively help our students a lot. Thank you, all of you. Thanks, all of you, for joining in this evening's program, and we will close the meeting now. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night.
Thank you, sir.
Good
Thanks
night,
a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Shivram. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.